being all cozy today, enjoying the tea and watching the leaves. Carmel for me was not a difficult decision because so much of that life actually anchored on solitude and prayer and the amount of silence you can have alone during the day, as well as a tiny bit of community. So we would come together for the divine office, which punctuated the whole day, and then we would have our time, a couple of hours a day, by ourselves in our rooms where we could just be with the Lord. And even during our work period, a lot of the time we would work alone, we could also be with the Lord there. It was just a very peaceful, no speaking during meals, obviously no speaking in the chapel. And because there was so much silence, I could go deeper with God. And that was the whole idea of the Carmelite order, is that journey of the heart, the journey into the heart, and also the desert experience, being very away from the world, cloistered. As you know, the Carmelites are an enclosed order. So it went so well with my personality, because since I was about 15, 16 years old, I've loved solitude. I've always valued the time I've had by myself, so I used to come home from school and be in my room for a little while and drink tea, and I've actually I have not changed one bit. So I would literally just enjoy the quiet, and I would do my piano practice, and then at night time I would read, and I just used to feel that there was something in that solitude, something of great value. And then of course, as I got older, I realized that I was in communication with God, and that was my prayer life, and it really built up, even though back then I didn't have the Christian terminology to say that was what was going on. I didn't have the language, but that was definitely what was happening. I was being drawn more into being quiet. My friends at school were thinking I was a little bit antisocial and I was a little bit different, but I just knew the value of what I was doing. So it's no surprise that later on in my life I end up in a cloistered monastery, because solitude was not an alien. During my time discerning the different convents, I'd visited a Benedictine monastery and I'd visited the Poor Clares, and I was very drawn to the Poor Clares. They're a community in Arundel in West Sussex, not far from London. And when I went there, I had one of the best weeks of my life, which was July 2019, and I spent time with Sister Geraldine Marie. Some of you will know that the Poor Clares of Arundel had the Classic FM #1 album Light for the World. They've done incredibly well, so absolutely exciting. And that's that community that I was getting to know and staying with and doing various retreats at the same time that I was going to Carmel. So I was kind of choosing and bouncing between and just getting a feel of what the Lord wanted. So you have to be very open. Openness is absolutely key. You don't go, well, I'm deciding, you have to you might decide on one place, and then a couple of weeks later you might go, actually, so just be open, definitely. The Poor Clares were a little bit more hands-on with the general public, so the sisters would be in the kitchen of the guest house. That would never happen at Carmel. So, and the Benedictines that I went to visit, they would do lots of Bible study, and there would be big groups, and all the sisters would be there with the public. Again, in Carmel, it doesn't happen. You have a guest sister assigned to deal with the guests, and that's it. The rest of the community is away. You rarely see them, and you don't see them at mass either, unless one of the sisters is reading. We're behind grills. That's how it was. And that separation from the world, again, I valued. And some people look on it like it's a prison, and why don't they come out and be a little bit more vocal? But that's just not the charism of that particular order. If you're looking for an order that's a little bit more sociable, then that would be anything other than Carmel. Obviously you've got the Dominican orders, the teaching orders, the nursing sisters, the apostolic sisters. So there's an awful lot in the church there's bound to be one place that would suit you. If you're on this path and you're looking, I would just say get as much coverage as you can, go and explore. I think I must have gone to about 6 or 7 places in the UK, right up north, down south, Midlands, absolutely everywhere, and then I settled in Norfolk. And also, aside from all the how the life suits you and what actually happens, it felt like home. So really listen to your gut feeling when you're in these places. See which one just makes you feel that overwhelming sense of belonging and peace. I pulled upon the gravel drive of the convent in my taxi, and I just thought, this is where I'm going to be. It was 4 years from that very first visit, talking to the prioress, to actually entering. So, but it was totally worth the journey. And when I entered, I was ready to enter, and that's the whole point. You can't rush discernment. You know, the sisters would always say, all in God's time, all in God's time, and you're sitting there going, I want to go now, but you know, and the frustration is all totally normal. So we have to be calm, and we have to really test, you know, is this for you? And that's one of the most beautiful things. So lots of prayer for your discerning, and if you're listening on this path, I'm wishing you all really well. Don't be afraid, commit, be brave, and thank you so much for watching.